Shalom. I'm getting a lot of calls and messages of concern about what's going to happen for Passover. Not just about the Seder, but how we're going to find the supplies we need. How are people going to find matzah? Talking to ministers, they're experiencing and fielding the same questions. How will Good Friday and Easter be properly observed? And from the Muslim community, there is now a growing concern for them because Ramadan begins April 23rd. I have to admit that I am concerned about our health, but very, very unconcerned about how we celebrate Passover this year. You see, the overriding principle of pikuach nefesh, saving a life, should clearly be the guiding principle for all of us. When it comes to saving a life, all other commandments should give way. And this is clearly that type of situation. Life takes precedence here for us, and you do not risk life to get a box of matzah or matzah mail. We'll do the best we can. And for me, it's more than just what I've heard from some people. Oh, God will understand. My friends, I can't wrap my mind around that type of theology, that we do this all for God and that God is somehow angry if we don't keep his commandments just right. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me. We do rituals for us. We do rituals to help us draw closer to God. Rituals help us connect ourselves to the stories of our ancestors, help us build the spiritual bridges that connect us with something higher. But here is why I am so unconcerned. And to be completely honest, why I enter this Passover season, not with a sense of, what are we going to do? But with excitement. This year actually is a unique chance for us to add to the Passover stories that we tell and to enhance Passover for future generations. And let me explain. Passover is not about matzah. It's not about a bitter herb. It's not about a Seder. Passover is a story. It's our story. It's a story of human survival. A story about our remarkable people's survival and how we emerged from a place of darkness and hopelessness, Egypt, to light, freedom, and nationhood. It is a story. Passover is the greatest story ever told about us, our people's origins. And for a few days in the calendar year, we Jews do more than just remember. We reenact. We celebrate it as friends and families with rituals both ancient and contemporary around a family table, a moment called a Seder. We've done that for centuries. But we've done it in the most open and freest countries, in the most oppressive and anti-Semitic regimes, in Jewish centers of learning and in concentration camps, in cities surrounded by tolerant neighbors and in villages ravaged by pogroms, in open and joyous settings and in hiding with rabbis and disciples in Bnei Brak, as noted in the Passover book known as the Haggadah. And the most memorable, the most inspiring, the most cherished, and the most retold experiences of Passover are when the telling of the story occurred at the most improbable of times. Think about it. Passover in an attic in Nazi Germany, in a concentration camp as recounted by survivors, held in fear in the former Soviet Union, serving in the military with bombs falling overhead, gathered around a hospital bed with fellow Jews, adventures told by our great-great-grandparents who celebrated Passover on a ship coming to America. Grandparents so poor that they had to make their own horseradish and wine when they came to this country. Inviting poor neighbors during the Depression to come join them. Those are the stories we never forget. Those are the stories we cherish. We remember the power and the glory of Jewish resilience. And they don't detract from Passover. And so my point is, not what are we going to do this year, but what story will the Seders of 2020 during the pandemic produce for us? What stories are we going to share and pass on in 10, 20, 30 years? Who knows what stories are going to emerge? Maybe how we learned to make our own matzah with just flour and water, using my wife's video because we couldn't leave the house. How we couldn't all be together, but Bubby and Zadie, who didn't even own a smartphone, joined us via teleconferencing. How when we got to Dayenu, the 15-verse song that after each blessing we say, if only God did this, it would have been enough. And we used it as a time to go around the table and thank God, saying things like, if only he would provide enough personal protection equipment, it would be enough. If only he would provide enough ventilators. If only he would keep our nurses safe, our doctors safe, our health providers safe, it would be enough. My friends, if all Passover are rituals that need to be done one way and one way alone, this would be a worrisome time. But if Passover is the story of a remarkable people born out of the depth of slavery and oppression, and how it became a nation and touched the world, the story of a people who never vanished, and how every year this people continued to find ways to survive, to remember, and to celebrate no matter what happens around them, then this Passover night will be quite special and memorable. It will be a night to remember. My friends, stay safe, stay home.